Right. You're listening here to Edge Radio 99.3. This is now Media Mothership.
Are you defined by the binary oppositions? Ever doubt a life of stable meaning? Want to trace it all? Edge Radio doesn't just offer you media. We offer you Media Mothership. Media Mothership, designed to reveal the aporias of today for 1 hour of difference. What are you waiting for? Hop on the Media Mothership.
Right. So, as always, this is the exciting world of Media Mothership here, hosted as always by Dr. Craig. And we explore everything in and around the world of unusual media phenomena, such as AI influenced hallucinations of the machine kind, as well as bizarre record mashups. As always, you can get onto us via our streaming at edgeradio.org.au or via YouTube or Twitch. Just search for Media Mothership. And you can reach out and message us on the chat at YouTube and Twitch or via SMS in the studio at 0488 11707. So on today's show, we're going to explore a number of interesting recent news phenomena in the world of media culture, as well as take a little bit of a review around the old-time radio show introductions we've been exploring in terms of how they hook listeners in and what we can learn from them in our own efforts to hook an audience into what we are creating. It could be a dinner conversation, it could be anything. So all that and more on today's show, Media Mothership, Edge Radio 99.3 FM. So who knows what is about to happen, really. It's a fascinating space to explore the areas of media and popular culture and unusual phenomena such as that. So the first article I want to have a look at is the piece on news on Taylor Swift. And what I want to do is play a tweet which was circulating. So this is recorded from the latest album of Taylor Swift, and Rachel tweeted this image of what she heard as she played what she thought was the first track of the reverse side of the vinyl album for Taylor Swift. Let's have a listen to what she heard.
The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. Where are they hiding? Where are they hiding?
The 70 billion people of Earth, where are they hiding? Was what she heard, would you believe? That was the bizarre message that was on the reverse side of what this Taylor Swift fan thought was the latest album of Taylor Swift's Speak Now record. Of course, it's not the Taylor Swift track. This turned out to be the sounds of the industrial electro pioneers Cabaret Voltaire, who was sampling the classic 1963 sci-fi TV show The Outer Limits. And that was their 1992 track, Soul Vine. Let's listen to that again. It's quite a again. Imagine a Taylor Swift fan, and you're putting the album on, and this is what you hear.
The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. Really hardy, really hardy. The 70 billion people of Earth.
Yes, the 70 billion people of Earth, where are they hiding? It turned out that there was a pressing mix-up when they were pressing the vinyl record, which resulted in them printing a copy instead of Taylor Swift's latest album. They ended up accidentally printing a compilation album called Happy Land, a compendium of electronic music from the British Isles, 1992 to 1996, Volume 1. Yes, this bizarro, weird British rural rave kind of electro music side was accidentally pressed onto the vinyl, the Taylor Swift record, causing many fans to completely be confused as to what was going on. The one Taylor Swift fan was quoted as saying, "I thought maybe the vinyl record had some sort of special message, because Taylor does that sort of thing. This voice was the strangest thing about flesh and anxiety. I was like, this is weird. I thought maybe the other side would be less strange, but I flipped it over to Cabaret Voltaire, and no, it only got weirder." So the whole album, it turns out, had the whole vinyl record had the wrong album printed onto it. Other fans have posted up with words such as scary, terrifying, haunted, and absolutely bizarre tracks. The co-founder of Cabaret Voltaire has been told of this, and they said that my kids in Australia told me about it. They said, "Dad, you're on a Taylor Swift record," and this girl looks really distraught about listening to it on the tweet she posted. So various people have kind of speculated as to what could have happened, and it does turn out indeed that it wasn't quite a conspiracy theory of Taylor Swift wanting to provide people with a bit of musical education from early 90s British electro, but instead it was a pressing error in the factory, which resulted in only a small number of incorrect pressings to be made. As you could imagine now, those records have gone on to become collector's items, many people trying to buy up as many as they can to secure this moment of bizarre Bermuda Triangle weirdness. As the latest Taylor Swift album, a small number of copies accidentally featured instead the Industrial Electro Pioneer collection from electronic music from the British Isles, 1992 to 96. Bizarre. I do love that story of accidentally getting electro music. Let's listen to it once more. How close is this to Taylor Swift?
The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. The 70 billion people of Earth. Really hardy, really hardy. The 70 billion people of Earth.
Yeah, right. Absolutely fantastic. So that, again, the unusual phenomena of the wrong music being pressed on it. It's fascinating, you know. I wonder if anyone up there has ever experienced a vinyl record pressing mix-up like this, like the one that happened with Taylor Swift, and at least for the first track, Cabaret Voltaire. I wonder how you'd react if you flipped on a record and it had not at all the music you were expecting, a kind of message from something else. Truly bizarre, truly unusual. Quite an interesting phenomena. Quite a very interesting phenomena. So moving on now to the next bit of news that we've got that's sweeping the interesting media highlights around us. There was an interesting piece on ABC News talking about the number of Australian musicians that feature in the local ARIA charts have absolutely plummeted. And it's just exploring the impact that incorporating streaming has had on the charts in terms of, what's ranking number one in chart sales and single sales. And they've pointed out that the enormous downturn in Australian albums from around 2016-17 coincided with them incorporating streaming sales into the charts. They attempted to balance it. I think the rough figure was around 170 streaming listens equals the equivalent sale. But nevertheless, it resulted in a huge number of non-Australian music now charting as people are engaging through various streaming services like Spotify and others, music trends that are not Australian. And it's interesting, some of the statistics mentioned in this article talk about how 70% of discovery listening is back catalogue work. So old albums, old singles, rather than new pieces of work. Again, making it difficult for new bands to trend in terms of the ARIA. Does it matter though? Is the ARIA a significant way to engage with music? I mean, have you ever discovered new Australian artists through streaming services or a playlist? Is that one you think the algorithm is directing Australian listeners to? If you're not getting them through discovery metrics on streaming services, how are you finding Australian music? It is quite an interesting dilemma how you decide what music to listen to or buy. If you're listening to it in terms of that album charting, a stream listen will be worth, 1/70th of a purchased version of that same song. So yeah, I guess if you want an Australian artist to chart better, you've got to go and buy that physical copy of the CD or vinyl, or buy a digital copy of it for it really to matter, it seems, or to help spike that sale. It's interesting the impact that digital music has made. And in, again, that piece, they were talking about some promoters when there'll be a gig, the cost of a ticket for, I think they were mentioning something like, maybe $1 extra will include a digital song from the album. The idea being that extra dollar, well, it's not much, and it might not even matter if the punter listens to it. Nevertheless, that will count for a lot, equivalent to 170 stream listens. So again, fascinating in terms of the impact of ARIA charts, or not that they're having at the moment. Next bit of radio news is literally radio news. A survey of commercial radio listening habits showed that radio listening and streaming is still growing. Last week we reported specifically on streaming, with Australia being the English language world leader in terms of the number of podcast listening hours people consume. This one was a local survey by GfK Survey that was exploring commercial radio and audio radio, and showing how radio listening habits are on the increase, it seems. And they're attempting now to calibrate their system survey data to incorporate also wearable, like your watch might be able to engage and listen to on-demand streamed music. So trying to capture data from the digital devices people have. They go on to talk about the impact of radio still, so to quote directly from the report, people are still predominantly listening to radio through broadcast. Streaming is growing. At the moment, they're looking about 27% of the population are using streaming services to listen to radio, which the survey goes on to say is about 3.8 million people across the major metro markets. 14 million people across the country are listening to radio on average per week, and 12.2 million of them are listening to commercial radio. And for the ABC, it's just shy of 5 million per week. So yeah, again, there's people are definitely listening to radio, Edge Radio included. And again, those seem to be really strong figures in terms of radio engagement being really key through old-fashioned FM systems, with streaming engagement in radio only 27%. So again, it doesn't at all form the bulk of listening engagement for radio. Streaming services to engage with radio is only 27%, which surprised me. I thought it would be slightly higher. I wonder how people here listen to the radio in their daily life. Do you prefer broadcasting, your FM broadcast while you're in the car, or streaming it, getting onto your mobile phone or laptop? I wonder what the benefits are of either of those. It's interesting, again, we mentioned a report a few weeks back where in the States some of the new Ford electric vehicles were being sold without AM systems because listenership is down. They didn't see it as important. But then the government issued a mandate requiring US car manufacturers to include AM systems still in their cars for emergency broadcast systems. So yeah, really interesting that AM, it'd be interesting to see how AM features within the current radio listening statistics. This one was specifically on commercial radio, so a little on AM it seemed. Yeah, so again, I wonder how radio can adapt to these changing listening habits. We've got 27% listening to broadcast radio rather than streaming. Be interesting to see how that increases over time, if it increases maybe. All right, last bit of news nearly. The Barbenheimer phrase, Barbenheimer. There's a nice little article here in Mashable talking about how Barbenheimer isn't just a meme, it's a call to action. This is the combination of the words Barbie and Oppenheimer, two films that are just around the corner, and a meme which is taken up combining both films together because they're releasing in similar dates to be Barbenheimer, and setting up date night for both films so that there's this meme going around or a challenge going around for coordinating your day to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer together. Of course, radically different films. Barbie exploring the lighthearted drama and comedy of the popular doll Barbie, and Oppenheimer telling the story during World War II and after of the development of the world's first atomic bomb. So quite different films. But yes, there's a meme circulating, and there's various tweets popping, such as this tweet saying, people seeing Barbie first are wild. The schedule needs to be black coffee and cigarettes for Oppenheimer around 11 a.m. It goes for 3 hours. Then mimosas and brunch for Barbie at around 6 or 7 p.m. for dinner, drinks, and then the club. So again, this idea of combining Barbenheimer together and fitting it into your schedule with appropriate eating habits and clothing choices, indexing to both Barbie and then Oppenheimer, depending upon what your choice is. So it's an interesting, Barbenheimer, call to action. Anyone here going to Barbenheimer? Watch Barbie first or Oppenheimer first. Oppenheimer's a long movie, 3 hours. So again, you might take the tip on that tweet and start with your classic 1940s diet of a black coffee and cigarettes, although maybe not cigarettes, black coffee and, I don't know, let's say tea. No, let's say toast for around 11, and then push through to then get into Barbie with some appropriate beverages, a mimosa, maybe a brunch, then finish up after Barbie with dinner, drinks, and a club. Wow, what a call to action indeed for that exciting choice of Barbenheimer around the corner. It'll be interesting to see how the Barbenheimer phenomena takes off or not, if it really is a good back-to-back experience. All right, we're back here on Media Mothership on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, exploring everything in and around the world of media. Let's see where we can explore next, I wonder. What we will do is, I think, take a journey back in time to look at how some of the key media we've been looking at around radio dramas can be incorporated in today's world. As you know, we've been looking at the top 10 old radio shows. So to kick it off, let's listen to how Jeff Jorgensen sets it up.
Old radio shows are very dear to my heart. They can delight you with comedy, thrill you with drama and action, or horrify you with terror. All without a single picture on a screen. Radio was theater of the mind and inspired the listener's own imagination to provide the images for the programs being broadcast over the airwaves. One of the ways that old radio shows captured their audiences was through imaginative intros. I have developed a list of my 10 favorite old radio show intros and will splice them into this narrative so you can hear them for yourself. My main criteria was to choose intros that best set the stage for the tone and style of the program and put you in the right frame of mind to willingly be led wherever the show would then take you. Each intro averages about a minute, so be prepared to immerse yourself in the audio and try to feel the emotion that is being established. Here then are numbers 10 through 6 on my list. Number 10, Gangbusters. Ever heard the expression coming on like gangbusters to describe someone or something that is practically exploding with energy? It comes from this intro, and you'll understand why when you hear it. Breaking glass, an alarm bell, sirens, and Tommy guns blasting lets you know this was not a show for the timid, but rather a cops and robbers thrill ride.
And now, Gangbusters! Gangbusters, presented in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States. The only national program that brings you authentic police case histories.
So that was Gangbusters. And what I think is interesting about the Gangbuster intro is how it sets up 5 key things on creating effective audio strategies and techniques to engage an audience. You know, it uses all that loud, dramatic sound montage work of police sirens, gunshots, screeching tires, a sense of urgency and excitement that you can hear there. So certainly that effectively creates this idea of the high stress, I guess, moment that they're in Gunbusters. If we have a quick listen to it.
Police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States. The only national program that brings you authentic police case histories.
So it's interesting, like 5 or 6 sound effects there, glass smashing, machine guns, cars revving, that they just throw together again to create that loud, dramatic sound montage, police sirens, gunshots, screeching tires for this urgency. The second key thing about Gangbusters that's interesting is the use of that authoritative and informative voice of the announcer. You know, the way that Gangbusters is introduced around the title of the episode. They give the name of the criminal, the law enforcement agency involved. So all of that kind of adds to this idea that you're suddenly jumping into a really interesting kind of phenomena, really interesting episode that you're about to hear on the radio with this authoritative voice saying, yep, right now we've got this happening. So if we have a quick listen here to how they set this up for Gangbusters, and again, listening to how they introduce the particular drama of the episode.
And now, Gangbusters! Gangbusters, presented in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States. The only national program that brings you authentic police case histories.
Detectives practically read their minds from what they knew of a man who had been dead 10 years.
And now to Gangbusters and facts that show the operation of our law enforcement officials in their war against the underworld. Gangbusters has asked John J. Sullivan, former Deputy Police Commissioner and Chief of Detectives, New York City, to narrate by proxy tonight's case.
The inside facts in the case of the 3 safecrackers.
Chief Sullivan, I know the case you're going to tell our Gangbusters listeners about tonight will furnish unusual proof of the work of one of the country's most colorful teams of detectives, New York City's Safe and Loft Squad.
It will, Don Gardner. If you and your listeners will bear 2 facts in mind. First, in burglary cases, it's extremely difficult for the police to get evidence for conviction. And second, the surest way is to know what's going to happen before it does happen.
Before it happens?
Yes, Don. I'll show you one way it was done. This case began on a bleak, overcast day last January at the huge Calvary Cemetery on Long Island. A lone man kneeled at one of the graves, unmindful of the young priest a few feet away.
So we'll fade it down. Again, what we can hear there is one of the impacts of the first 5 or so minutes of Gangbusters, is this use of the authoritative informed voice of the announcer who introduces and sets it up. But then doubling down to that kind of authority is the use of realistic and authentic stories. You know, that the story that we're about to listen to for any half hour for Gangbusters is an actual police case history, and it features some notorious crime figures or acts that are done. So the episode there that we were listening to was the 3 safecrackers, and the police commissioner or the detective at the start providing some real-world information about the challenges of investigating these type of cases. Later on in episodes that Gangbusters does, it uses these direct appeals to listeners to help catch wanted criminals that are still on the loose. They'll provide phone numbers and addresses of the local police or even the Gangbusters station to be able to have listeners call in as they're listening to the show if their memory's jogged. And as we also heard in that intro, it uses testimonials from prominent law enforcement officials. There are later episodes. There's one episode that has the notorious J. Edgar Hoover speaking. And they endorse the show as well as give it that kind of authenticity, inevitably slightly altered for also having a bit of radio dramatic appeal. But all of these techniques, all those 5 techniques, being able to use loud dramatic sounds, using an announcer with an authoritative and informed voice, then having realistic and authentic stories, making direct appeals to the listeners to help them catch these criminals, and then testimonials from prominent law enforcement officers made Gangbusters into one of the most popular and influential radio shows back in the 50s, attracting millions of listeners and winning praise from a lot of the community. So in tribute to that, we at Media Mothership did do our own little homage to it, which was a little unusual, but I'll play it quickly for you now. This was
the Media Mothership, the show that blasts through the media landscape with Dr. Craig and Lord Taylor, the show that exposes the secrets and lies of the media industry, the show that explores how media can shape our understanding of the world around us and what we can do about it. Every Friday at Fortin, join Dr. Craig and Lord Taylor as they explore the impact of movies, TV shows, video games, and more with critical and informative conversations with creators, critics, and fans. We're streaming live on Edge Radio. Or YouTube and Twitch, as well as on 99.3 FM. Message us on the chat at YouTube, Twitch, or SEMS us on 488,811,707. Don't miss the Media Mothership. Most exciting show on radio.
Yes, so that was our effort to make a exciting, captivating, catchy little Gangbusters tribute intro to Media Mothership. I mean, we did use AI voices which read the script literally. I do like how they turned the SMS into a whole number. But I think we kind of nailed the loud and dramatic sound montage, possibly a little too heavily. But from Gangbusters, going into number 9.
Number 9, The Fat Man. I can't resist the description of a mysterious man walking into a drugstore to check his weight on a penny scale and getting a fortune card that reads, Danger. The Fat Man was Private Detective Brad Runyon, and the audience knew right away from the intro that he was big and was going to be dealing with trouble.
There he goes into that drugstore. He's stepping on the scales.
Weight 239 pounds. Fortune, danger.
Who is it?
The Fat Man.
Fat Man's interesting because there's also an Australian version of it. We'll have a quick listen to the Australian intro now.
There he goes into that drugstore. He's stepping on the scales.
Weight 239 pounds. Fortune, danger.
Who is it?
The Fat Man.
And now here's the Fat Man in Murder Calls the Undertaker.
I was sitting in my office hoping nothing had happened. It was a warm, lazy morning, and I didn't feel like working. A soft breeze blew through the window. I lit a cigarette, leaned back in the chair, and began to look over the mail. Indian summer. The kind of a day meant for picnics, a ball game, and a tall glass of something cool.
So I'll fade it down there. That's the Australian 1954 episode of The Fat Man, Murder Calls the Undertaker, broadcast on ABC. Yeah, so again, original American product, very, very popular. And then later on, localized in Australia quite well, better than the Gunsmoke Australian adaptation, which was way too cheesy for me. So the Fat Man intro really does nail some really key aspects of getting a good intro down with strategies and techniques. So firstly, it's got this kind of, catchy song, I guess. It's there. We've certainly, again, got a good narrator, the deep and confident voice of the character Brad Runyon, played in the American version by J. Scott Smart. And he narrates this opening speech, right? So in these old corner stores, you'd go in, you'd be able to weigh yourself, and the weighing machine would also spit out a fortune, which is what the whole setup there is, that, he gets on the scale, and you hear these sound effects of him getting on the scale, and the fortune's generated, and the fortune is about murder. So, very dramatic. Very, very dramatic. So we'll see how that all pans out. We do have a Media Mothership episode of it. But before, I've just realized that with the Gangbuster one, we did actually create a song for that. So I'll quickly play the Media Mothership song in tribute to the Gangbuster episode created by Taylor.
Captain, the ship is under attack. What do we do? Set coordinates to 99.3 and prepare to board the Media Mothership.
That's right. All right. So that was a musical tribute to Gangbusters, going in a completely different direction as Taylor was wont to do. So really creating quite a bizarre interpretive electro dance theme to the Gangbusters experience. But to return to the Fat Man, what we set up there was the idea that, it had that deep, confident voice. It set up an intriguing, suspenseful story, right? So the Fat Man's all about an upcoming murder that's going to be solved. There's a lot of humor and irony there, contrasting the Fat Man's physical appearance, skills as a detective, and so forth. And as opposed to some of the others, these ones featured some quite high-profile sponsors. So the Fat Man, if we go back, listen again just to set it up. So again, to remind us what the intro of the Fat Man's like, Here's how it starts off, and then I'll play our Media Mothership version of it.
There he goes into that drugstore. He's stepping on the scales.
Weight 239 pounds. Fortune, danger.
Who is it?
The Fat Man.
And now here's the Fat Man in Murder Calls the Undertaker.
I was sitting in my office hoping nothing had happened. It was a warm, lazy morning.
All right, so that was the Fat Man intro, and of course here at Media Mothership we did experiment with trying to see how we could create our own tribute to that, which we'll have a quick listen to. Have a quick listen to now. Hold on.
The kind of a day meant for picnics, a ball game.
As I pause the original version, and this is our tribute version to the 1950s Fat Man series via Media Mothership.
Don't let your stomach ruin your day. Listen to some refreshing Media Mothership and feel the difference.
There he goes, into that radio station. He's about to host the show. Showtime, Media Mothership. Who is it?
Dr. Craig and Lord Taylor. To most people, a radio show is a collection of sounds and words. But there's one program I know of where the hosts explore the power and influence of media on our perception of reality. Every week, they chat with creators, critics, and fans of movies, TV shows, video games, and more. In the first episode, for instance, you'll find the K-pop and cultural intermediaries interview. And in another audio adventure, you can inspect the Harry Potter or Sherlock Holmes radio dramas that are a unique creation of artificial intelligence. Don't miss these chatbot-generated radio dramas gone wrong.
That's the show Media Mothership, a fast-moving media analysis who tips the scales at 239 pounds. Brought to you by the Tasmanian Youth Broadcasters Incorporated, makers of Edge Radio and other fine media empires. When you overeat or eat too fast, you're looking for trouble with your digestion. That's no time to let your stomach ruin your day. Instead, try a better way, a gentle way. Listen to refreshing Media Mothership. Yes, when you're bothered by heartburn, nervous indigestion, or other common digestive disturbances, Media Mothership promptly helps to calm and quiet the upset. It settles and sweetens it. You feel the difference. Next time you eat too much or too fast, you can do something for that uneasy, uncomfortable feeling. Try refreshing Media Mothership. That's right, when your stomach's upset, don't add to the upset. Take soothing Media Mothership and feel good again. And now, from Hobart, Tasmania, Media Mothership, hosted by Dr. Craig and joined by Lord Taylor.
All right, so that was the Media Mothership tribute to the Fat Man. Turning to the
Number
next
8,
episode.
Duffy's Tavern. The only comedy on my list, the Duffy's Tavern intro immediately brought the listener into the action with a phone call from owner Duffy to the tavern's manager Archie, played by Ed Gardner. Duffy himself never appeared in the program, but the one-way banter from Archie was different every week and set the table for the antics of the episode. Despite being billed as where the elite meet to eat, Duffy's Tavern was not a high-class establishment. Here's just one hilarious intro example.
Hello, Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Archie the manager speaking. Duffy ain't here. Oh, hello, Duffy. Oh, nothing new. The letter carrier was just in. Delivered a stack of poison pen letters. Yeah, bills. Well, so much for the bulk of the mail. Now for the complaints. There's a letter here from the Department of Sanitation. Yeah, they say we'll have to do something about the garbage, Duffy. Yeah, they claim it ate a hole through the bottom of their truck.
And, so that's Duffy's Tavern, a comedy. And what it does that's quite interesting in terms of its intro is I guess 5 slightly different elements than what we've seen previously. We've got the catchy and familiar song, When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, at the start. So theme music, I guess, there. And it is interesting because, that does contrast with the, I guess, rather seedy and humorous setting of the tavern. So it does use a lot of humor and distinctive voices with the live studio audience that's laughing as Ed Gardner, as the character Archie, the tavern's manager, is speaking with this wonderfully thick New York accent, full of, very well-chosen mispronounced words throughout. So again, having this character with a really distinct voice, not needing to have a radio voice, but instead a kind of thick New York accent as the tavern manager, using repeated memorable phrases. So again, we heard it there. Hello, Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Archie, the manager, speaking. So again, that classic catchphrase really set up the engagement for the intro, getting people into listening to what's going to happen next. Witty and sarcastic dialogue between Archie and the other characters. What's interesting, if you listen to any of the Duffy's Tavern radio show episodes from the 50s, is that it's full of celebrity guests plugging their latest album, but in the setting of a tavern, drinking, and there'll be a bit that they do. So a lot of situational comedy with Archie's schemes often going awry, blunders, some romantic troubles. Tavern's fiancé will show up. There'll be regular customers and staff. So again, quite an interesting ensemble cast, but driven by a celebrity guest every week that pops in of that time. So again, Duffy's Tavern, quite an unusual, quite an interesting one. And again, if you're wanting to get a full experience of radio drama, it's worth trying. So let's listen here to our effort to create Duffy's Tavern.
Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Duffy ain't here, but Archie is. And he's got a special treat for you tonight. He's hosting Media Mothership, the show that brings you the latest news and views from the world of entertainment. And now, here he is, the man who knows everything about showbiz, Archie.
Welcome to Duffy's Tavern, where the beer is cold and the talk is hot. I'm your host, Archie, the man with the plan and the brain with the strain. We've got a show for you tonight that'll knock your socks off and make your head spin like a top. So sit tight and loosen your belt, because we're about to serve up some verbal vittles that'll leave you licking your lips and scratching your head. We've got a mixed bag of guests tonight, from the high and mighty to the low and flighty. So grab a cold one and settle in, because it's gonna be a wild ride here at Duffy's Tavern.
Right, so that was Duffy's Tavern, our tribute to it, promoting Media Mothership mercilessly. I think the canned laughter really saved it. I don't think the joke was at all interesting. Two favorite ones next that we explored were the Escape series and Gunsmoke. The Escape series in particular, interesting change in terms of being an ensemble piece. If we listen to how Jeff Jorgensen sets it up.
Number 7, Escape. Escape was a dramatic show that billed itself as a half hour of high adventure, and it was. Every show was unique, be it a Western or science fiction or murder mystery, but the audience could always count on lots of thrills. The intro, narrated by the great William Conrad, followed by music from Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, certainly set the stage for that expectation.
Tired of the everyday grind? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all? We offer you Escape.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
So that was Escape, and yeah, I mean, the 5 key things it does so strongly is that dramatic and ominous music choice with Night on Bald Mountain, really setting up that sense of tension and danger. Again, a great use of narrator William Conrad, who we heard last week from Gunsmoke, providing the powerful and urgent voice, inviting the listeners to escape from their everyday lives into a world of the high adventure episode we'll hear. Listening through Escape, well worth doing. Each episode contains some really intriguing, varied stories, span a huge number of genres. Usually there'll be science fiction, horror, historical stories, fantasy, skips all around the place, as well as adapting famous works. There'll be a number of H.G. Wells stories, Rudyard Kipling stories, Ray Bradbury, that you get to enjoy these half-hour radio adaptations of. They're quite effective. And quite clever use of sound effects and dialogue throughout, which really enhance the realism and atmosphere of the stories, creating, as they say, that necessary theater of the mind. So here was my short tribute to Escape via
Troubled by the
Media Mothership.
multiple narratives. Ever question the possibility of a stable meaning? Want to deconstruct it all? Edge Radio doesn't just offer you media, we offer you Media Mothership. Media Mothership, designed to expose you to the simulacra of today for 1 hour of playful irony. What are you waiting for? Hop on the Media Mothership.
Right, wow, that's pretty much us for the this week, 4:55. Thanks for listening. This has been Dr. Craig, as always. And I hope you've enjoyed some of the walk down the radio dramas that we explored and some of the unusual news that's circulating at the top of the show. Show notes, as always, will be available on the episode description at YouTube or Twitch, as well as the podcast episode via your podcast supplier of choice. Next week, we'll be having a short break for a week, and I'll play a classic interview. Haven't decided which one, so please listen into that. But we'll be back the week after that. And, of course, as always, you can listen to previous episodes of Media Mothership via edgeradio.org.au or via podcast or YouTube. And you can reach out to us on Facebook or Discord. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. If you enjoy some of the pop culture discussion, do check out Edge Radio's Millennial Think with Hannah and Miranda every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Always interesting to see what aspect of pop culture they're going to explore next. I'm sure they'll have some opinions on the Barbie movie that's around the corner. Keep listening now to Edge Radio, as coming up next is K-Pop Unlimited with someone that'll sound like me, but will be DJ CJ, joined by a mystery guest who will be learning the ropes through the wonderful exposure of K-pop. Well, actually, as happened a fortnight ago, this will be K-Pop Unlimited, the unlimited side. So maybe less K-pop, but more unlimited. So keep listening to that. Coming up next on Edge Radio, 99.3 FM.
Listen to Edge Radio for all your Tassie music needs.